Hi everyone, it's Amy Fothergill here, and today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about low carb cooking. So we're going to be making a couple of dishes: a lime coconut chicken, a cauliflower fried rice, and some chocolate avocado mousse, some of my favorite things. So welcome everyone who's here. And I was doing some prep as we were talking, and someone said, "What are you doing there?" So I have some cilantro, and what I usually do is I grab from the bunch, I'll grab a handful, so you can see that's about a handful, and I will rinse it, and then I pat it dry in a paper towel. And then, just because I don't prefer the stems, I just start taking the stems off like this. So I just look through, and I have a little compost bowl here, which makes things a little easier. So welcome. So why don't we just, while I'm finishing this up, take a moment if everyone wants to introduce themselves really quickly and say your name and where you're from, and maybe why you're taking the class. So again, I'm Amy. I'm in Half Moon Bay, California, and I'm so appreciative that you all are here. So whoever, and the last class that I taught, one thing that I noticed was it was almost harder to have everyone on mute because I just felt like I was in my kitchen talking to myself. So if you can be off mute and you don't have too much background noise, feel free, or just, I'm not going to only mute yourself if there's some background noise, but otherwise you can stay on. So Jana, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself briefly, okay?
I'm Jana Fond, and I'm in the San Mateo area. I'm a psychologist. I work with individuals and couples, and I am interested in this class because I started going low carb, and I have a son who has celiac, so it's the perfect combination.
Okay, Stephen, Ginger?
Well, Ginger's still not ready to join the real world yet. But I'm Stephen Cook, and my lovely wife, Ginger, and we live in San Diego, and we're doing the class. We got to know Amy because Ginger has a number of digestive issues, one of them being shit. You know, they say it's the second thing to go, but I can't remember what the first one is. And just love her recipes and how easily they are to do and adaptable for Ginger's odd needs.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm so glad that you guys are here again. I really appreciate it. Susie, you want to jump in? I think I see Susie there. I was putting myself on mute so you didn't hear the tap, tap, tap. But Susie, I know through Instagram. I'm not sure if we have other connections. Sometimes I think I know people on Instagram if I've known them forever. But Susie, thanks for being there. If you have a chance to say hello, please do. And otherwise, welcome. So right now what I was saying was they're trying to do all my prep. I want to try to make the class a little bit shorter. I really was appreciative of all of the feedback I got from the last one. It gave me a lot of good ideas and good opportunities to improve what I've done. So I tried to get everything ready. I'm going to show you a few things technique-wise so that you do have a chance to learn about cooking. So this is, again, the cilantro for the coconut lime chicken. And what I had done was I peeled off the stems, and then I had dried it, washed and dried it, and now I just gave it a coarse chop. So you can kind of see what that looks like. All right, I'm going to put this in a little prep bowl over here, and we're going to be adding that at the end of the process of the chicken. So before we start cooking, I just want to talk to you about each of the recipes. So the first, this is the order we're going to do it in as well. And welcome, Jen Criswell. If you want, hi. Do you want to just say hi real quick? Do you want to go on? You want a chance to say hi?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to. I love your cookbook, and I've just been enjoying getting some new recipes. So excited to see what you guys are doing. My kids may be around, so
that's okay. That's okay. And we're same thing. I think we just know each other through social media. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I met you at a convention. Like
we did. Okay, we did. All right.
Back when I first was diagnosed. So
okay.
yeah. So love your stuff.
All right, thanks so much. Okay, we'll go ahead. So thanks for saying hello. We'll go ahead and I'm just going to give a high level view of the recipes. So the order we're going to do the recipes in is the coconut lime chicken, then the chocolate avocado mousse, and then the stir fry. So that the cauliflower fried rice. So everything, the hot food is done about the same time, and then you'll have dessert ready to go. So a few things about the coconut lime chicken. Hopefully everyone has their recipes. I want to talk to you about is the coconut milk. So I usually use a canned coconut milk like this, but I want to show you a little trick. And that is that I put my coconut milk in very hot water. And when you put it in hot water like this, let me get it out, put this back. When you buy coconut milk in the can, the full fat, generally the fat rises to the top and then there's liquid at the bottom. And when you do that, it's depends on what you're doing, but if you want to have it where you're measuring the milk and the fat and the water, the coconut water is mixed already, if you heat it up a little like this and then shake it, it should be all, I call it homogenized, but I know we think of homogenization as with cows. I think it's kind of funny, but so I'm gonna give it a little shake. I'm gonna get my measuring cup out because we're gonna use this. And I just realized my husband was in here earlier helping me, and the can opener is being used as a weight. Hopefully this doesn't tip over. Oh, yeah, it's going to tip over. Oh my gosh. It's just like you have to laugh at these things because earlier I had, all right, we have to laugh, right? So my can opener is being used to hold this so my camera doesn't fall over. So let me find something else heavy. Find the old can opener. I said to him, I know that at some point I was doing this and I didn't have, as long as the camera doesn't land in the coconut milk, we're okay. If you see it moving, let me know. That would be bad. All right, so I've given this a nice shape. And in this recipe, we're going to be using 1.5 cups. That's about 3/4 of this can. And this is the brand I usually use, the Native Forest. I just thought I would try another one. I saw this in our store. It's like the off-brand, but I think it's the same. Oh, and that's my handy little can opener that cuts it from the top that I love. I think that was one of the ones they suggested. So you can see it's all mixed. Then we're just going to go ahead. Isn't that nice? So it's so much easier than when you just, oh, if I were to open this up, I'd have the big blob of the coconut fat and the coconut water. However, you can use that fat later when you are making, later on when we're making the avocado mousse, you can use that. All right, so I'm gonna put this back here. All right, so for prep, we've got our coconut milk, we've got our limes. I'm gonna show you a trick with the chicken in just a minute. We've got garlic, and it's a pretty easy recipe. Is everybody using, who's cooking today, is everybody gonna be using coconut, oh, sorry, chicken breast, or did some people decide to still use the chicken thighs? Okay, so I'm going to use the chicken breast, and I'm going to show you also how, if you want to do a quicker cook, I'm going to show you how to cut the chicken in half. The next thing I want to talk to you about briefly is the chocolate avocado mousse. So those ingredients are ripe avocado, raw cocoa powder, so you don't want the Dutch process, something to sweeten it. We have some vanilla, and we have some type of milk. And I know some people are like, what, avocado in a pudding? That sounds so weird, but it actually tastes really good. So we're gonna do it in the middle, and I'm gonna show you how to make a really quick coconut whipped cream with the coconut fat or the coconut cream. And this recipe, I'm also gonna be using coconut sugar and erythritol, or Swerve is the brand name. But if you're at home or you're making this later, you can use whatever sweetener you want. I used to use maple syrup and some coconut sugar or honey, but I'm trying to use less sugar, even though it's not refined sugar. So I feel like that's one of those things that kind of gives you some flexibility. And then the last recipe is a cauliflower rice. So I bought this today, and it's already riced. Again, I'm not sure if everyone has their, I think one person said they can't have cauliflower, so they're going to use brown rice. And I just use this as a substitute for the rice, just to make it low carb. So if you're not low carb, you could just use cooked rice. So whether it's brown or whether it's white, just make sure that you're using cooked. All right. Let's see what else. And we'll talk about all the vegetables when we get to that. And I think we are ready to start cooking. And if during the presentation there's any questions, just go ahead and take yourself off of mute and we'll go from there. Does everyone see, if you're using Zoom, do you see me as your main screen? Everything is good? Okay, great. All right, let me just move that. And let's talk about the chicken. So I'm going to do some extra chicken today. Let me grab a plate to put that on. So I said, pound and a half to pound and a half or so. But this particular chicken breast is really quite thick. So what I want to do is I want to show you if you need to cut it in half. So I'm going to move, this is my prep. I have a little tray of all my ingredients. I'm going to move that over to the stove. And then I just want to show you how to make your chicken a little thinner if you would prefer to have it thinner. And I'm going to make some, I might make some extra because I don't know about you, but I have a 17-year-old boy that lives with me and man, he eats a lot. So I have to always be making sure I have a lot of food. All right, so if you put your chicken breasts, and these are what you see, they're pretty thick, on the cutting board. And now this cutting board I won't be able to use for my avocado, good to know. And then take your knife and right in the middle, let me just make sure you can say, yeah, right in the middle, and make sure your hand stays up and just, you need a sharp knife for this as well. So we're just making these a little smaller. This wasn't in the instructions. I sort of thought of it after. I said, I think it'd be good for me to show how to cut the chicken in half in case it's too thick. So again, just keep your hands above, maybe grab it and then come and give it a nice slice. And there we go. Okay, there's one piece, another. And then of course I'm gonna have to wash my hands and I'm all done somehow. All right, so right there, okay, sharp knife. And go ahead and cut that. Try to make it as, I'm doing this a little different. And the other option is you could always flatten it with mallet. So now I really have 4 pieces, but I have a nice big pan. So I'm going to put this over in the sink. And as I do that, does anyone have any questions right now? I'll just take you like 30 seconds to wash my hands. Questions, comments? You can unmute yourself if you need to. And I'm back. All right. So let's start with the coconut lime chicken. So I'm going to move. What I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to move this, put this here. I'm going to bring my camera over to let's bring this camera over here. And I'm going to keep this camera over here, but I'm going to shut the video. So now all you'll see is the stove. Is that okay for everyone? Looking okay? All right. Let's go ahead and look at the recipe and let's make sure we know the order that we're doing things in. So we have our pan here that's going to fit our chicken. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on if you're cooking along, about medium. And we can we can either use coconut oil or avocado oil, whatever you have. I'm just going to use my avocado oil today. And we'll go ahead and that's about a tablespoon, just enough to cover the bottom. And then our chicken that we have here, while we're waiting for this to heat up, I'm going to go ahead and add my salt and pepper. Again, I don't want this to fall into, very paranoid about that falling in. All right, so I have my little pepper grinder. Go ahead and put it on one side, and then I'll use a fork. I'll flip it into the pan, and then we'll turn it over. That's usually how I do it, is one then the other. One thing that's important is the type of pan that you use when you're sauteing chicken or meats like this. You really want it to be something that can take the heat. And the stainless steel, these type of pans, this is an all-time. I really think they're the best ones. I've had these for 20 years. And it is important that the pan is hot, because if I were to put the chicken in right now and it didn't sizzle, it's not going to get that good sear. So it's really important that the pan is heated. I'm just going to crank it up a little bit. So I can feel just the fact that I can put my hand over this. It's not a magic trick or anything. It's not quite hot enough. So the other ingredients that we're going to be putting in, so we did about a tablespoon of the oil. That's probably about 1.5 pounds of chicken, and it's been sitting out, and I seasoned it. I have my garlic. So here's the garlic. It's already chopped up. If you're cooking along and you haven't chopped it up, do that now. One of the things someone said was, well, what if you can't have garlic? What could you use as a substitute? And I said, well, certainly you could use some ginger. I think is nice because it gives it a good flavor. And even a brown mustard to sort of make it tangy. And then I have my limes, and those are already cut. So we're going to be putting those in at the end. Do you know why you wouldn't put the lime in the beginning? Why do you want to add fresh lime juice at the end? Anybody want to, pop in, and you can just see if there's anything in the chat. Okay. Why do you want to put the lime in at the end? So you can just unmute yourself. Anybody know? The reason is if you add it too soon, it can actually make it bitter. So it's better if it's fresh. And then the other thing we have is after the lime, we're going to be doing the lime after, but we have some stock. I found these in Costco. These are little broth packets, and they're gluten-free. And then that way I just can use 1/4 cup and just add the water. And of course we have our 1 to 2 tablespoons of cilantro. I like cilantro. Does anybody here not like cilantro? Let's see. No. Okay, good. All right. Now I can start to smell the oil. It's really fragrant. You're going to hear some sizzling. And now that my hands are washed, I'm going to try to not touch the chicken. And as you see, I've already seasoned the chicken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chicken in seasoning side down and then season the other side. So listen to this. That's what you want to do. Oh my God. There we go. All right. I recommend. Okay. Oh, I think I'm going to, okay, someone said to switch, we're going to switch I'm going to switch around the video, or not the video, the audio. Is that better? I just want to make sure I'm not getting any feedback. That's better? Yes, Jana? Okay, good. All right, excellent. So what I want you to notice, and I used to, when I used to teach cooking classes, I would say this quite often, is what do you notice that I'm not doing? What am I not doing? I am not turning the chicken. I'm letting the pan do the work. And this is really important. If you start, and I know a lot of times you see this on cooking shows and they're always stirring things, but if you start moving the meat around the pan, you will not have a sear and you're not going to get the browning. So oftentimes I let the chicken or whatever meat I'm cooking do its thing. And then this is when I probably would be cutting my lime, getting my garlic ready, chopping my cilantro. I mean, I haven't touched it. It's just cooking away. Really, really important for good flavor. Once you start to see, once you start to see some of the chicken becoming white on the edges, it might be ready. Now, with this particular process, what we're going to be doing is we're starting with a saute. And the saute is where it has a little bit of oil and you're doing the browning. And then once we add the coconut milk, we're then switching that to a braise. And I want to do it uncovered. And what we'll do is we'll look at it, but doing it this way as well will make the chicken very tender by letting it finish cooking in the cooking liquid. It's just going to be delicious. I'm very excited. So I'm going to take a look. So I've got my fork here. Let me just make sure you can see it. If I take the fork, you see how it pulls right away? That's a good sign. It's too stuck on this side. Go ahead. Let that keep cooking. And once this is starting to simmer, we're going to work on the dessert, which is always nice when we get to do dessert before dinner, but we might have to just taste a little bit of it. Some of the things that make this low carb is that we're not adding any flour, gluten-free flour, rice, anything to this particular dish. It sort of naturally is low carb. And as I said in the recipe, you can use either chicken breast or chicken thighs. I like using the thighs, but I think sometimes it takes a little longer for them to cook. So that's why I switched to the chicken breast for this particular class. And the combination of the garlic and the lime is just fantastic. I really, really like it. All right, let's get this ready to turn over because then we can move on to our next item. We'll take the fork. That looks great. Okay. So another thing you may or may not have noticed is my garlic. Why have I not added the garlic now? Why not just add the garlic with the chicken in the beginning? What is there? Anyone want to guess?
Because it will burn.
Let me make sure I have my chat here so I can see. So the reason is if you add your garlic to burn, and then it gives the whole dish a different flavor. So I always add garlic, even ginger, right before I add my cooking liquid. So that's another one of those things across the board. Whenever I cook, if you read through the cauliflower fried rice recipe, it's the same thing. I cook all my vegetables, and at the very end, I add the garlic and ginger. Right, so here is our coconut milk. I'm just getting all of, and I will be making a little bit of the chicken broth. With just some added water. I'm just gonna grab a little water here. And that chicken broth is primarily for flavor. So if you didn't have chicken broth or you didn't have a small amount, you really could just, instead of using that, if you didn't want to open up a whole container, you could actually just add some extra water, it would be fine. So it's getting close. See if I can pull this up. And the other advantage of having the pieces a little smaller is it's going to take less time to cook. So the next step, when I'm going to add my garlic, I want to make sure there's a spot for the garlic to cook. So if when I add my garlic, there's not, you could add a little more oil, but I see right there, there's a nice spot. Again, so we have our 1.5 pounds of chicken, and this is about 3 garlic cloves. And I'm going to add that right there in the middle, right where there's some oil. And just let it kind of move it around a bit. It smells so good. If you're cooking, Stephen, how's your kitchen smelling right now with your garlic? Oh no, you're not using garlic. That's right. Never mind. I don't know if anyone else is cooking. I see a lot of people watching. So maybe about 30 seconds. The other little trick with garlic is while it's cooking like this, just add a tiny bit of salt too, so it doesn't burn. And now that's been cooking. Now you can move it around the pan. Get some over here, some over there. Hopefully the sizzling isn't too noisy. We're going to be moving off the stove in just a second. So I think that was about, seems like that was about a minute, right? Okay. So to the pan, I'm going to add my 1.5 cups of coconut milk. Again, this coconut milk has been mixed. I'm going to lower my heat. I just want it simmering. Oh, that's much less noisy. And we have to add our chicken broth. So if your chicken broth isn't mixed, it's probably about a teaspoon of chicken broth. So I'm just going to estimate that because that's how I cook, and put the water in. And again, that's more for flavoring. And then we're going to stir that in a little bit. And who remembers what I said was we went from saute to what? What are we doing now with the chicken? What's the process? When you add the cooking liquid, the process is braising. And braising allows, who's ever had chicken that's really dry and tough and not good, right? Yes. And this is what changes your chicken from being dry and tough to super tender. Is when you saute, you get the color, you get the flavor, and then by adding the liquid, you're going to get the nice texture. So we are going to leave this here, and I'm going to leave it uncovered, and we'll just check on it occasionally. And if we get to the point where I feel like it's reduced enough, I'll put the cover on and have that ready to go. So let me get it back to where it's simmering, and then we're going to move over to the other side so you can see. We're going to do our. All right, does everybody see that? Oh, it would help if I move the camera. So it's a nice, soft, so simmering means just little bubbles. I remember I said to my son the other day, I said, check the water to see if you see, but we were boiling pasta. I said, tell me if you see bubbles. And he said, well, I see bubbles, but it was like, no, not like less small, you need big bubbles when you make pasta. I'm trying to teach a 17-year-old how to cook. All right. And yeah, so definitely need to reduce this so we have a nice cooking liquid. So we'll check it in a little bit so everybody can see that. All right. Any questions about this recipe? And again, what we're going to be doing is my lime and my cilantro is over here. We're going to add that right when we're ready to serve. Okay. And if you have a question, you can unmute yourself or you can send something in the chat. All right, let's move on then. This looks great. All right. My family will be very happy today. So, oops, I just hit the hood. All right, let's go back over here. All right, and so now you can see two of me. There's two of me here. And let's get our ingredients ready for chocolate avocado mousse. Has anybody ever had this before? Have you ever had a pudding made for something besides milk? I'm just curious. Yeah, okay, Jen. Yes, thank you. All right, I need a knife. Spoon, scoop it out. Let's talk about the setup of this and the ingredients. What I want you to notice in this recipe is the order in which I put it in. So it's coconut milk on the bottom, and then there's cocoa powder, avocados, vanilla, sugar, and the salt. I'm trying to grab some salt. The reason you put it in this order is when you are going to process it with the stick blender, if the powder is at the top, it might fly all over the place. So there's actually a reason to put it in that order. So let me grab this milk. I'm going to grab my, lower this a bit. So I'm going to use some of the milk from earlier. And I thought I had everything, but I forgot to grab, I'm going to grab another coconut milk. And actually for today, I'm just going to use some almond milk. It really doesn't matter. It's really whatever you have on hand. So that's 2/3 of a cup, and you might need a little bit more. Keep that handy. And let's make sure you can see what I see. Whoops, it's starting to tip. All right. Okay, so let's start making it. So I'm going to make it in here. This is what I'm going to use my stick blender. So here's my 2/3 of a cup of my milk. And here is my cacao powder. So this is not, you can use this to bake, but you wouldn't use like a Dutch process. I mean, I suppose you could, but I usually use an organic coconut powder. And then let's talk about the avocado. So you do want to make sure that it's soft. And I do want to tell you that the one time I went to the emergency room for cooking was from taking the pit out of an avocado. So I want to show you the right way to do that. So we're going to start by cutting it and make sure your hands are up here. And what I did was, when I try to take the pit out, I had a knife, and instead of doing this, I went like that and I sliced my hands. So usually it's this, a little twist, and it should come right out. But it was not a good, as soon as it happened, I said, oh, I have to go to the ER. I knew exactly what had happened. So with a spoon, and again, it's really important that it's soft and ripe. And if it's not, I think one time I tried making this with banana, but have a different flavor, but you could substitute if you really needed to. All right, just checking my chicken. All right, everything is, my family is going to be very happy. Usually sometimes I do cooking and I'm like, don't touch this, but they'll be able to come down and have a nice early dinner. So that's one avocado.
Amy.
All right, and second avocado. So again, knife, keep your hand up here, go right in the middle, keep your hand up, turn it around, a little pop, hold it like this. You could also take the pit out with a spoon, but if you just do one and then a twist, it should come right out.
Amy.
So I always have something handy. All right. And then scoop that all out. Anyone else, Stephen, how's it going over there for you guys for cooking? Is everything okay? Any questions? And you guys could also send me chats. You can send me if you don't want to unmute yourselves. I can see the chat. this something you think you would make for yourselves? Maybe if the kids are watching, they'd be like, avocado and pudding, no way. But I promise you, it's
Amy.
very tasty.
Amy, you hear me?
All right. And the other thing with this recipe, I think originally when I first started making it, it was about half of this. So you could easily make half of it, or you can easily make double. All right, so a little bit of vanilla. So I have that already measured out. There's my teaspoon of vanilla. And then coconut sugar. The sweetener is completely to taste. So you can use more or less if you need to. And I just think that if you use pure erythritol, it just sometimes has a weird flavor. So I like to do a combination. This is the erythritol, which is similar to Swerve. And I'm just going to start with a tablespoon. And then, believe it or not, you do need a pinch of salt. I have the salt out and I forgot it. So I'm just going to do about a quarter teaspoon and put that in there. And there it is. Of course, the next step is we need to mix it all together. And then I'm going to be using this to make the coconut whipped cream after.
Amy,
Let me move.
Amy,
Sure this doesn't slide around. So one of the things I've noticed with these stick blenders is it's better if it's on something where it can't spin around. So have it on something, a wet kitchen towel is a really good way to keep things secure. I'm gonna mute myself for a minute because I think it's gonna be wrong. It might be really noisy. Hi, Stephen, sorry about that. Yes, you want to use the coconut fat and milk for this. Hopefully it's mixed together. And if you didn't have that, you could use almond milk or any other milk substitute. Does that answer your question? Sorry, I couldn't see. Stephen, you can come on or you can chat, whichever is easier. Let me just go ahead and
about the chocolate. At least a quarter cup.
all right. Do you think that looks pretty easy, you guys? So when you're using your stick blender, this is always a good idea to take it off so that it doesn't tip over. I've also had that happen a number of times. And the next very important step before we do anything else is to taste it. So the texture is really nice. It looks thick, but it will, when it goes into the fridge, it's going to get even thicker. And we just want to test it for sweetness. So let's give it a shot. It's good and it's chocolatey, but it needs more sweet. So when you're dealing with the erythritol, if you're trying to go to the low carb, one of the things is I don't want to use too much, but you can certainly use too little. And that's, there's not quite enough because it doesn't have the right amount of sweetness. So I'm going to start with another half of a tablespoon of that. And maybe a half a tablespoon more of the coconut sugar. And I think I'm even going to do a splash more of the milk, just a splash. So if you taste it and you taste avocado, that usually means you should add more sweet. The chocolate flavor is perfect. And does anybody know what the salt does? Why do you add salt when you when you're baking. I mean, not baking, but if you're making dessert, why would you add salt? Okay, why don't I just answer? So salt helps to balance the flavor. It makes it so that your food isn't flat. So just, I use salt in almost everything, not a lot, but a little. All right, let's put this back on. Just have the volume down. And because this is for my family, I can double dip. Perfect. All right. So this, I'm going to transfer this later into something else. For now, I'm just going to set it aside. Yeah, this is just a close up so you can kind of see the texture. And it makes about, it's probably a good, a little more than probably about 4 servings. But I want to show you how to make a coconut whipped cream. I just need to find, I'm just going to get a sip of water that was a little dry for me. How are we doing out there? Any questions, any comments? Does anybody think that is this something you'd make? Yes, you might make this, okay.
My kids are loving the dessert idea.
All right, so let's look at this other product. So it's the same company and it's called coconut cream. So this is really mostly the fat that is in that can. And let me show you how to make a dairy-free, gluten-free, of course, whipped cream. So I had this in the fridge so that the fat would kind of come to the top. Oh, this is a little bit more mixed. All right, let's about that much. And Swerve also makes a texture sugar, so it's a little bit finer than the other sugar. I just want a tiny bit to make it a little sweet. So then maybe like this one or so. And then this is where either you could use your stick blender and use the whisk, or you just use old-fashioned. When I was in culinary school, this is the type of thing we had to do all the time by hand. We had to whip cream, we had to whip hollandaise, sauces. There were no stick blenders back then. Then eventually this will get enough air that we can use it to top our dessert. Just want it thick. It is a good workout. Ooh, but you can already see it's getting thicker. I think I'm going to move my chicken over. Okay, so we're just using this more for a topping for our pudding. If I kept whipping it, it would be a little bit thicker, but I think everybody, you get the idea? Everyone, okay, great. Okay, so let's move some things around. It's over here. Thanks, Jana. Any questions right now? All right, I'm going to move. That's what I was talking about. Oh my gosh. If you were here earlier, I was saying to my husband, I don't want to have it like that. It's going to tip over. And luckily it did land in the pudding. There we go. All right. Thanks. It's comedy hour here. All right. So coconut chicken is simmering. I think I'm going to move it over to another burner so we can make the cauliflower rice there. So while I have this, let's move my camera over. All right, everybody can see that. It looks really nice. So I would say now's a good time to turn it over. And it's getting there. It's probably almost cooked, but I do want it to reduce a little bit more. So it's a little thin still. So we're gonna, when we've read 2008, so 13 years, 13 years ago. And when I redid it, I said, oh, I really would like to teach classes here, but technically to teach a class in your house, you have to design requirements, but this is great. This is a good way to teach in a place I always wanted to teach, but be able to do it the right way. So there we go. All right. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself. I'm going to do some move some things around so we can get our chicken or chicken cauliflower rice. So I'll move this over here. It's for the at the end. All right, so let's talk about this recipe for just a minute. Our chicken. All right, so in this recipe, you could have either taken your cauliflower and done the ricing in your Cuisinart, or as I did, buy a bag of rice cauliflower. So I'm gonna actually measure to see how much I end up putting in there, because I'm not exactly sure how much. We're gonna be using our avocado oil. I have my eggs ready to go, they're already beaten. They have some salt and white pepper. I like the flavor of white pepper better. In here, I have my smaller vegetables. I have my, not smaller, but I have my scallions, broccoli, I have some mushrooms, I have some carrots. And I'm going to show you how to do some chopping because I think that's important. And the zucchini we're going to put in later, and I can see what I've already added. And then I have a paste that I really like. I like using these pastes. It does have a little sugar in it, but it certainly saves a lot of time. And then I'll show you how to do the garlic with the press. And then later at the very end, we're going to be adding our, these are the scallion greens. And then I have my so there's my white pepper and my sesame oil. And then instead of a gluten-free soy sauce, I use coconut amino. So I don't tolerate soy very well, and this is a good substitute. All right, so before we turn that on, let me move this again. I just want to show you some technique cutting. All right, sorry for the. All right, so let's talk about how I did the. So for the carrot, one of the things I said was I wanted a really small dice. So I just want to show you how I did that. So I've already peeled the carrot and I'm going to cut it down the middle. And then I'm going to cut it into little strips. Because if you use a big piece of the carrot, it's going to take a while for it to cook. So now I have about 8 strips there. And then I'm going to take my knife and make really small pieces. I'm just going to push that up.
I cannot see your hands.
Should have had another knife ready, but my other knife is full of chicken. All right, so your pieces are like that. Already, but I want to show you how I like to cut onions because I always think that that's really useful information. And if anyone has ever taken a cooking class from me, this is my way that I do it every single time. I think what I'll do is look at this heating. Into medium. And with that. So here I have half of an onion. What I want you to notice is that when I cut it in half, this is kind of would be the hairy or the end with the pieces coming out. And I cut it in half this way. And I always leave this part intact. And I'll show you why. Because as you can see, it stays whole in one piece. When I go to cut it, it'll be much easier to chop it. So I just start with my knife. Make sure you can see this. All right. Just going to reposition things. There we go. There we go. Start with the knife, and I'm going to cut to the very end like that, and use your finger to hold it, but just make sure it doesn't slip. So right now I have cuts going the long way, and then if you turn it, you get a nice chop like that. And your onion stays together. It's much, much easier. Let me add some oil. So what we're doing first is we're going to scramble the egg. So I'm going to put in, it's probably about, maybe, that's probably enough, a tablespoon. Let's get that swirl. Check on our chicken. Chicken's looking really good. I think I'm gonna, I'm gonna go ahead and shut my chicken off now. It's been cooking away, has nice thickness in the broth. I'm just gonna go with that. All right, so if you've never seen this before, this is Amy's way of chopping an onion every single time. This is how I do it. I find it to be so much easier. If you have any piece, this is sort of that core that looks like that. I usually I don't save that, or I don't use that, I should say. You can compost it. All right, and then we're going to add, so we're going to be adding this second. And timing wise, we're just looking, it's almost 4. I would say we'll probably be done in about 20 minutes or so. Hopefully that timing is okay. But if you have to go, you can just hop out and you can always watch it later. Let me know if there's any questions. One of my chat is over there now. I really have to get an assistant. So if anybody wants to come and help. There we go. I've got our veggies ready. And what I'm going to need is, this is all staying in. When my eggs come out, I need to put them somewhere. All right, so here is, it's nice and hot. 2 eggs, I've already mixed them. They have some salt and white pepper. Mix, nice sizzle. as it goes into the pan, get all the egg out. And this is just an ingredient in the cauliflower fried rice. So if you can't have eggs, you could just substitute it. And one of the things that I said was, if you are going to substitute the egg, you want to make sure you're using an egg, like a vegan egg substitute, not flax or chia seed, just something that is actually egg. Only if you wanted to use that. You don't have to put, you certainly don't have to put that in. And as you can see, it doesn't take very long for it to cook. And then you can just move it around. And this is where I really think the nonstick comes in handy. And we're going to be adding this back into the cauliflower rice when it's all done. So if it's a little bit underdone, it's okay. Because it's going to cook again and it won't be very long. Otherwise, you want to make sure it's all cooked. So that's what it looks like. All right. And we're going to put it here to the side. All right. So back on the heat. If your pan was dirty, you could go ahead and wipe it down, but I don't think it needs to be wiped. I'm going to add a little more oil. So maybe again about 2 teaspoons. That might be a teaspoon and a half because it's nonstick and there's still some oil left. A little swirl. And I'm going to go ahead and add all of this. I added onion and scallion, some diced carrots, broccoli, and mushrooms. And it should, when it hits the pan, you should hear tss, as we come on here. And same kind of thing where you don't want to really be moving this around too much. Let it sort of do its cooking, but we can add a little bit of salt. And you could either add the black pepper, or because I like the flavor, I'm going to add the white pepper. And then I'm going to be adding my zucchini. So I want to show you how I cut this, very similar to the carrot. I want to have pieces that are small. So it's always better to have your vegetables be more flat, and then strips. So notice I put my knife in and then I go down, and then same movement. Anybody want to guess why I'm not adding the zucchini now? Why would I wait to add the zucchini, do you think? So the reason is for the type of vegetable. So if it's a softer vegetable, it'll cook really fast, and I don't want it to get overcooked. All right, zucchini is done. And we can go ahead and stir this a little bit now. All right, and then let's talk about the garlic. So this is the same container I had from before. I want to show you my little trick. So you might have seen when I sent out the email about the event, a list of different equipment. And as Stephen said, this is a very, trying to think of the phrase he used, not strong, but a sturdy looking garlic press. And it's one of my favorites. The brand is Roastly. And with this type of a garlic press, you don't even need to peel the garlic. I am using peeled garlic today. And garlic is one of those ingredients that if you can tolerate it, I feel like it's more the merrier. So it's not as important. I mean, you don't want to have too much, but I'm going to start with 2 cloves, and then we're going to add some more. So it's in the press. I'm going to squeeze it right into my bowl here and scrape it out. Then this bit here I usually don't save, so that just goes either to the compost bin, or for now, just put it on the board. And I think we're probably gonna want a little more garlic than that. My goodness, we gotta get some. So I'm gonna use 4 pieces, but it might be really more like 3 normal size pieces. And that way, when we're ready to add the garlic, it's already pressed. And then we have the ginger paste. But if you wanted to add fresh ginger, just have it chopped before. All right, put that over here. Let me just check to see if I have any. Yeah, so the question is non-stick pan for the rice, but regular for the chicken. That's my preference, just especially with an egg, so it doesn't stick. But if you only have a regular pan for the egg, just make sure you add enough cooking fat so it doesn't stick. All right, so we're getting there. I have the heat at a little above medium purposely. And I think now that the broccoli is bright, I think we're gonna be okay. I'm gonna make some space. Maybe a touch more cooking oil, just because it looks a tiny bit dry. So maybe adding another little more than a teaspoon. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my zucchini now. And we'll give that a stir, and then we'll talk about the cauliflower rice. We're going to add that pretty soon. Those carrots are getting nice to cook. So based on, kind of said it in a kidding way, based on maybe, how much you want when this is all done, how much space you have in your pan, is how I would determine how much cauliflower you're going to put in there. So I'm going to go ahead and raise the heat a little bit, and we're going to measure to see exactly how much I'm going to use. So here's my cauliflower rice, here's my cup measure. So that's what a cup looks like. I think it's going to end up being about half a bag. And let's stir it. I feel like I'm going to add some more. We're a family of 4, but with a teenage boy, that becomes almost a family of 5. Is how I look at it. So I think I'm going to do 3 cups for us. But I think 2 cups would normally be the right amount. One of the reasons that you want to add some salt to your vegetables, especially when they're like this, is it'll actually extract the moisture. And in this situation, that's a good thing because we want the moisture so that it helps with the cooking, especially the carrots. If you want it to be really brown, sometimes they don't add salt, but in this situation, yeah. So we're gonna go ahead. And you hear lots of sizzling. Sizzling is good. Let's tip this so you can see it. So I feel like this is a dish that you're not low carb. You can put in anything. I know it's not as traditional to put in broccoli or zucchini, but I did that because I didn't. I just was trying to keep a low carb to not add the peas, but you could add peas. Traditionally, it's usually onion or scallion, carrots, and peas. But I don't know about you, but I like to add lots of veggies. How's it going over there, Stephen Ginger? Yeah, okay. That's right, Jen. All right. Just gonna check. Let's see what that's looking like.
Have you added the egg back in
It's the
yet?
fancy stuff. My mother said, this is why I sent you to culinary school. You can learn how to saute. All right. While that is finishing the cooking, I'm going to go ahead and check on my chicken. It looks like it's perfect. So with the chicken, I turned it over one more time. I felt it with you could either take the temperature, you could take something and sort of stab it, not stab it, just press it and see if it feels stiff, it's not soft in the middle, and that looks perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and add my lime juice. Remember, I cut all these in half, and I like to use a little squeezer. I find that very helpful. And Stephen just asked, have I introduced the egg yet? No, the egg is at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and so for the cauliflower rice, you still have to add the garlic, the ginger, the sesame oil, the coconut aminos, and the egg. And that egg is very last thing. And I'm going to wait to add the cilantro to the very last step. All right. This is also giving me some time. Let that cook away. I'm just going to go, it's my hands. Any other questions right now? I've got the chat handy so I can see it if you need to ask me anything, ask away. Looking at this, I think I've been using my lemon squeezer. Was that easy? Did that seem easier, Jen? Yeah, okay, that's funny. All right, I think we're ready to add our garlic and ginger. So the method I use is that I make some space. Like that. And then I put just a little more oil. Maybe lower this a tiny bit. And put the garlic right there where the oil is. And the ginger. And then this is all for flavor. So that's one. I like it gingery, so I'm going to add a little extra. And then with your spoon, just move it around a little bit so it gets fragrant. We just want to make sure it's not burning. Oh, it smells so good in here. Oh my gosh. Yum, yum, yum. And you just want to look at it as it's starting to get brown now. So I'm going to mix it in with all the vegetables. And lower the heat a little bit so it's not burning. And now go ahead and add your sesame oil. And I think we're adding, I was supposed to be telling you how much. So, but I think you knew how much with the garlic and that. For the sesame oil, I'm suggesting about a tablespoon, good amount, good for flavor. And with the coconut aminos or soy sauce tamari, if you want to use that, like 2 to 3 tablespoons. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. And for anyone who's watching, now I'm going to add the egg back in. Oh my gosh, it smells, you guys, it smells so good in here. How many people miss Chinese food? I miss it so much. And this smells just like fried rice. And in the recipe, one of the things that I said was, if you wanted to make this as an main course, after doing the egg and before you start doing the vegetables, you could make some shrimp, some chicken, use the same pan, put it aside, and then you would add it back in here. You just want to make sure it's cooked all the way. I think that looks fantastic. Oh my gosh, it's not too bad. It's only 411. So I think, all right, I shut that off. I'm going to take some of this. So if you're cooking along, oh yeah, the curd's perfect. This would be a good time to do a little taste test. And then for a chicken, you're going to take your cilantro. And if you, I said cilantro or mint because I have mint in my backyard and it's easy. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try them separately. I do think it's separate flavor. So here's my fried rice. I'm so sorry that you're not here. It's so good. And it does not taste like cauliflower. It tastes like rice. Oh my gosh, this is really good. Is it okay that I have some more? Oh my God. Okay. Chicken. Oh, that is the best. It's amazing when I actually follow my own recipe, when I'm not just sort of winging it, what happens. A little bit of the chicken. Chicken is so nice and juicy that you could have it plain by itself over maybe zucchini noodles. It's just wonderful. Or rice if you're not doing yeah. So I'm just gonna, my son, I have a lot of food for him. He just walked in the door. So again, not sure if you can tell, but it is super, super tender.
So food ready.
Okay, buddy, I'm on in a minute. So here's the chicken. It's super, super tender, about 3 minutes. All right, let's do the taste test. All right, oh, it's really soft. You do, Steven?
Good.
Yeah. We haven't put the lime on the chicken yet.
Yeah,
What are
I
we
just
supposed
put
to
the
do?
lime.
Oh, he just did it. Okay, great.
Right at the end.
All right, well, the last thing I think we should do is let's try the avocado mousse with the whipped cream. I'm gonna take a little, because it's always good to start and with dessert. So there's my mousse. It looks absolutely delicious. And here's my whipped cream. Oh, you know what? You guys, I'm sorry. I forgot the scallions. We're going to just put those in there. Give them to my family later. I did forget this, but it was good without it. Okay, so there's the whipped cream. And we're going to go ahead and add some of this whipped cream to our mousse. And let's see how it tastes all together. So good. So good. Well, you guys know what I'm going to be doing when we're done. Not just cleaning up, but having a little nibble. So I just want to thank you all for being here and for being part of my cooking class. And I'm going to continue to do classes like this, and afterwards I'll be sending out a survey to ask you what you thought. I really want to say thank you to I taught a class maybe, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, and I got some really good feedback, and I tried to incorporate that feedback into the class today. So if there's anything that you really liked or anything that you'd like to see better, I know it's hard with the camera and I'm still have to work on that, but I think timing wise, we did pretty well. So about an hour and 15 minutes. And if you want to go off on mute and say hi or give me any feedback now, I would love it. I wish I could share this with you because I think this is my favorite dish today. The fried rice just came out fantastic. So, but feel free to say hello. Let me know what you think.
I thought that was really great, quick and easy. So
Good.
I'll be making it tonight because my family loves pizza on Friday nights. But I've been looking for a new chicken recipe, so that's gonna definitely end up coming into the recipe.
Excellent. And I might be doing a gluten-free pizza as well. So a class on how to make a gluten-free pizza. So I have a new recipe for a flour. It's a flour that I get, and it's I'm doing either packages of the dry mix, or if you live near me, I can sell you the pizza dough, and I might do that as a class. So, but you'd have to have this particular flour before. I could probably send it down to San Diego if Ginger and Steven wanted it. What's that?
This is fantastic. We had it up in Santa Barbara years and years ago, a chocolate mousse out of avocado, and it's so nice to know how to make it.
Oh, good.
We could both eat dairy free now, so.
Yeah, same. Okay.
Hi, Amy. It's Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you for popping in.
Yeah. I just went out and got all my ingredients, and I'm going to make the recipes tonight.
Okay. Well, I tried to follow it as exact without, I didn't look at it, but the one thing I did was with the chicken, I did cut the chicken into small, instead of having a thick breast, I cut them in half, and I demoed how to do that, but
I actually
otherwise
got I got chicken tenders, so it'll go a little faster.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, everyone. You'll get an email from me with the recording so you can watch it again. If you have any questions, please contact me. And I just want to say thank you and thanks for joining me. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Amy.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.